This is going to sound like a job interview question. It's not, but as you think back over your career, both being hands-on keyboard and then in a leadership role in automation and automation COEs, tell me about the project that was maybe most satisfying, that you're most proud of in terms of, what you automated and what came out of it and the impact of the business.
Sure. Yeah, I think the one that meant the most to me, because I've seen the biggest impact, was a workflow solution that we built for a large accounting team, well over 1,000.
Wow.
And we ended up, yielding 120 headcount reduction out of that, and with much better scale, I think 300% scale. So, and this is in a securities industries where you had the trade life cycle. And if you're familiar with the securities industries, they really work as part of a life cycle. You have the trade capture. So this is the trade from the, let's say, the broker or the counterparties. So the trade capture, the trades are captured, and then they go to the book of records. And then there's a pricing team that has to price those trades and positions. And then there's a reconciliation team, which is basically a team that is going to reconcile what the client said that they've traded versus what the broker said that they've traded on their behalf. The clearing, right? So basically matching the two different stories and looking at the exceptions to see, are these legitimate exceptions or just data anomalies? And then the accounting team, once everything is priced and reconciled, comes in and has to do the net asset valuation before handing it off to the investor reporting, who report to the investors for those funds. So it's basically an orchestration of activities across what back then was a very siloed setup, where every organization had its own technologies, had its own processes. And then when it finished its task, it relied on emails and chats to let the other group know that, hey, I'm done for this particular fund, I'm done for this particular group, and so on. And it was very client-centric, if that makes sense. So, for example, the accounting team for this fund did, all the accounting for this particular fund. So the first thing that we did was to actually reorganize the workforce and functionalize the team such that, no longer be a client-centric team. I shouldn't say client-centric, focused or set up team, in the sense that there's no reason for a team to do A to Z for client A. Instead, why don't we just have a team that does all the listed instruments, or all the, for example, the Morgan Stanley trades, and another team that does all the Goldman Sachs trades for all the clients. So instead of you doing A to Z for one client, no, you just do everything to do with Morgan Stanley for all the clients, as an example. So that functionalization, and this is more of a different part of my mandate that I've managed, which is more of a process design, process simplification, introducing process reengineering and lean before we do any automation or transformation, right? Because you can reap a lot of benefits by simplifying the process before you automate. And once we've done that, what we did was we created an intelligent workflow that was driven by the movement of the underlying data, such that it detected from the systems if a specific trade or position has been priced, it would automatically alert the next group in the activity that, hey, your task is now up, and it's ready for you to be done. And it intelligently managed the workflow across the global team of 1,000 plus accountants and operation analysts in multiple regions, right? And when I say intelligently, because what it did is it figured out who's the next best person to work on the next task, based on legibility, based on the type of data, and so on. And that transformation was phenomenal because you no longer have people huddling in rooms to figure out, okay, what are we going to do today? What's our resourcing strategy capacity? And even more so, the highlight of how impactful was is that whenever we've had typhoons in Manila, we've had, for example, resource center in Manila offshore, it would be more of a disaster recovery. We were trying to figure out all the directives, how do we manage the workload, right, and transfer it back to the other locations, whether it be in Europe or North America. what that workflow intelligence automation solution did is that it automatically figured out, based on who's online, how to reallocate those tasks to
Wow.
various members in other locations, again, based on eligibility, based on skill set, and so on. So all that headache and overhead management that used to be in place to figure out how to respond to specific BCP situation, business continuity
Yep.
situations, right, is gone. And this is just the icing on the cake, right? On top of the cost reductions, the scale, and the process improvement that it brought.